good to have your heroes and the people that you look up to in society be masculine men. If you're a man, it's good to have testosterone flowing through your veins. Mr. Beast tweeted recently that he's getting in shape and that he called himself obese and that he's been training every single day and eating right and stopping drinking. And I think this is a wonderful example to set for young men, actually. You shouldn't want to be a slob filled with microplastics and unable to defend yourself or support your family. In my case, physically support my family because I need to pick my little kids up and down, or walk up the stairs, right? To literally be a father, you have to be a masculine man. You have to have energy. To come here today, I flew into Virginia. And Virginia, by every right, should have a Democrat governor. Why don't they? Many would argue that Terry McAuliffe was just unpopular or whatever. Nope. Actually, it goes directly back to a single point in time. Their previous Democrat governor on a radio show, live like we are now, said that children should be born and then the mother should stare at her child in the bassinet and decide whether it should die. He said they should comfort the babies,
resuscitate
keep them comfortable, and then the mother should have a decision of a post-birth abortion.
I tried to explain that to people because I'm from Minnesota.
What was the guy's name? What's the governor's name?
Northam.
Ralph
Northam.
Yep.
So in Minnesota, they just passed similar legislation, right? And I was trying to explain to my friend, this was 2018 when this happened, right? It was 2018 or 2019. And somebody's like, that sounds crazy. Like that's a one-off. That's where I'm like, no. This is becoming mainstream, and in a couple of years, it will make its way to places like Minnesota, where the government is shifting very, very farther left with what's his name, Walt, right? So it's like you don't get to just laugh it off and stick your head in the sand and say this isn't happening, or I don't think it's that big of a deal. Like it's like there is an argument to be made, like depending on how politically active the person you're having this discussion with, you have to watch your tone, because if you get too, because these things upset people, right? And you're like, no, this is real, and you shove it in their face. A lot of times people just shut down and they don't want to have that discussion, right? That's a lot to just throw on someone at a moment's notice. But I think it goes to what you're saying about keeping people calm, because you have to keep them calm and informed, because as these things continue to happen, as these things continue to grow in other legislations, you need the evidence that these people actually think this way, because it does sound ridiculous.
That's child sacrifice. Yeah. By every definition, that's the sacrifice of a child. That's child sacrifice. It's not like it's not a pejorative, metaphorical child. It's a literal child sacrifice. Like Aztec level child sacrifice is what the governor of Virginia advocated for. And so Democrats need to own that, because that's their party, and you need to absorb the fact that that's what you represent.
They just run fact checks saying it didn't happen, it didn't happen, it didn't happen. And then what they'll do is they'll run a headline that says, did Ralph Northam on a video advocate for and explain post-birth abortion? False. And then what they'll say is, the governor was referring to babies who were born with abnormalities who could not survive on their own and needed resuscitation. He was not talking about abortion.
Weasel words.
Is that true?
The point is, you can't abort a baby that's already been born.
It wouldn't be post-birth abortion. It would be a murder.
Exactly.
Or a sanctioned death if you make it legal.
And so they can say he wasn't talking about abortion, because the fact of the matter is he's talking about killing a baby.
But he was talking about killing children that had like severe deformities and wouldn't survive.
I don't think so.
No, he was not. He was saying like
he was talking
it should
about
just be the mom's decision.
He was talking about a bill on the floor of the Virginia Senate. They had written that bill, and the bill was written in a way that the mom could decide that once the baby's born, she doesn't want it.
There was a judge that asked, what was her name? Was it Nancy Tran? Was her name? Do you want someone to fact check real quick? He said, so let me get this straight. With your bill, a woman could get an abortion up to the point of birth, and she goes, there are no restrictions. And he goes, the baby is crowning, and she goes, there are no restrictions.
Yeah.
And governors, you know, the issue of abortion rights emerges every year in the General Assembly session. This year, no exception. There was a very contentious committee hearing yesterday when Fairfax County Delegate Kathy Tran made her case for lifting restrictions on third trimester abortions, as well as other restrictions now in place. And she was pressed by a Republican delegate about whether her bill would permit an abortion, even as a woman is essentially dilating, ready to give birth. And she answered that it would permit an abortion at that stage of labor. Do you support her measure, and explain her answer?
Yeah, and I wasn't there, Julie, and I certainly can't speak for Delegate Tran, but I would tell you first thing I would say is this is why decisions such as this should be made by providers, physicians.
Here's the programming. The programmed answer.
The mothers and fathers that are involved. there are, when we talk about third trimester abortions, these are done with the consent of obviously the mother, with the consent of the physicians, more than one physician, by the way. And it's done in cases where there may be severe deformities, there may be a fetus that's non-viable. So in this particular example, if a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother. So I think this was really blown out of proportion. But again, we want the government not to be involved in these types of decisions. We want the decision to be made by the mothers and their providers. And this is why, Julie, that legislators, most of whom are men, by the way, shouldn't be telling a woman what she should and shouldn't be doing with her body.
Wait.
Should have to weigh in as is currently required. She's trying to lift that requirement.
Well, I think it's always good to get a second opinion, and for at least.
I wanted that to play out to show you that the context did not circle back and that there was no other further clarifying points. And I want to stress, he outright said, the context of the conversation was no restriction abortions up to the point of birth. And he said, yes. And the doctor and the mother should make that decision. And then he goes on to explain a circumstance in which the baby is delivered and brought into another room.
And I'm sorry for interrupting. My headphones cut out. I thought that the clip had ended. Sorry about that.
No, this is, be capable, have the moral fortitude to call people demons. Be capable of calling out demonic, blackened spiritual activity when you see it. They want to desensitize you. They want you to think that this is normal. This is not normal. This is depraved evil from the pit of hell. Do have the capacity as a moral person. You don't even have to be a Christian, Muslim, Jew, doesn't matter to me. As a moral person, you should be able to stand up for the life of a small, helpless infant who was just born, as I have held my little newborn babies in my hand, and say, you do not deserve to die. And someone who is wishing to take your life is a literal demon. What about when your deformity is that your dad was a conservative? What about that? What about when that's the deformity? Because that's how this always goes. It always goes like that. And that's the way it always goes. The deformity for Margaret Sanger was a race she didn't like. And that is why Planned Parenthood was started with the express intent of getting rid of a racial population that Margaret Sanger didn't like. And that's why Planned Parenthood was started in the inner cities. These are facts. These are straight facts about Planned Parenthood and where they come from and what they were intended to do. So my wife and I had our second child last year. And the doctor comes in. This is something that is horrible for every parent. You get all these checkups, and you get the ultrasound, and they do these very sophisticated ultrasounds. The doctor comes in and goes, I'm really sorry, but you got a problem. You have let me see if I can remember this right, an aortic, some type of aortic afibrillation where your daughter's heart is not developing correctly. And worst case scenario, she won't be able to survive when she's born. Best case scenario, we could maybe do a open heart surgery when she's born. And so we'll have the team there, and we'll make sure that we'll have the open heart surgeons there. No promises. That's what they told us. No promises. And that's what the medical experts at this very sophisticated, very good hospital, excellent hospital, a private hospital, Catholic hospital, told us. And I'm not trying to put them on blast, because my daughter was born and she was perfect. She was perfect. She was a perfect angel from God. And then we brought her in. She was breathing. Her heart rate was perfect, even after every expert told us we're going to need to do open heart surgery on your daughter when she's born. We bring her in for her first week checkup to check this specific heartbeat issue where her heart valves weren't developing correctly. And they're like, it's fixed. It's a miracle.
Wow.
Your daughter's heart is, the exact words were, perfect. Now, I'm not saying that anyone advocated for me to get an abortion. They never pushed us to that. But what if you are young, and what if you didn't know any better? And what if you didn't have the same life that my wife and I have? And you heard that. And, oh man, I'm just going to carry this baby to term and it's not going to have a heart and won't be able to survive?
And then everyone in the media and all of these prominent influencers are like, don't feel guilty. Don't feel guilty. Just
no. This is you living your truth, and you're doing the kid a favor. And so my beautiful, bubbly 1-year-old named Juliet would not exist today because medical science, which was wrong, which was 100% wrong, or I'm just the recipient of a miracle.
I'll tell you.
The other way is that I'm a recipient of a miracle.
I'll tell you.
And God healed my child.
I think the
right?
lesson
Either way, they were wrong, and my child is I couldn't imagine my life without her.